What's up, Elite Army? This is your kinda well, kinda toxic host, Sarah Rittendale, bringing you another episode of Wellish. Elite, the weirdest thing just happened. I love the universe. I love how it works. I love how things just like come and connect. It's so cool. Okay, I am currently taking a class. Hold on, I literally don't remember the name of the course because I'm a fucking idiot. The Science of Wellbeing. Okay, so I'm taking this class on the Science of Wellbeing, right? And I'm in my second week of it, so, you know, your girl's right at the beginning. But I'm also simultaneous, separately from the class, just normal part of my life, reading, also don't know the name of that, Thinking Fast and Slow, okay? And when I picked this book up, I didn't look at the author. I don't know why, I just like didn't. I just picked it up and started reading it. And I'm taking this class and I recognize a picture in the book that I saw on the course. And I was like, oh my God, such a weird coincidence. So fun. But then it doesn't stop there. That was like minor, super minor. So I'm sitting there and I'm like psycho, like channeling my inner college student just to, you know, have a little bit of structure in my life or normalcy from youth to now. And so I'm taking notes on this entire course and I'm writing these two names down, and she's like, and they're Nobel Prize winners in economics, so they know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And while I'm taking the notes and doing this whole course, I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to talk to the elite about this. Like, this has to be the next episode topic. Absolutely. This is so interesting. I love this. It's so real. It's so relatable. I'm obsessed. And so I'm taking all my notes. Okay. And then whatever, done. I finish. I've reached my capacity for the day, so I just put it to the side. So a couple hours later, I go to sit on my couch to start reading my book, and I notice the author's name, and I'm like, wait a second, that looks really familiar. Why? I'm like, it can't be. Was I right when I fucking was writing my notes down? I run to my desk, run back to my laptop, and look at my notes and find that, if you're here just podcast, that was me flipping through my notes pages. Did you like my sound effects? Thank you. I'm like actually what is it called? An audio book author, not an author, speaker, whatever. Moving on. I flipped through my notes and was like, holy shit, the names match. It's the same person. So I'm simultaneously working in this class, learning about this well-being, the science of well-being, and also reading about it in a book that's completely unrelated to the course. And I'm so excited to talk to you about it. There's so many things that I'm picking up in both that are just like so cool and interesting and eye-opening. And it's a very simple topic, so bear with me because, you know, you might have heard some of these things, but I think it's so fun to bring references and science into the shit that we talk about all the time, because it makes me feel like not insane. It just makes me feel like, okay, like I feel this way. Obviously, lots of people do, and that's why there's studies on it. And further than that, I am wrong, and I don't have to give my entire life up to all of these ideas that I think would make me happy that really actually don't. It's just validating to hear scientific evidence that we don't have to keep pouring ourselves into the shit that makes me literally want to rip each one of my hairs out one by one, honestly. So that said, I'm raw dogging another episode with you guys because I literally couldn't wait to sit and like map out an episode for you because I'm so excited to talk to you about this. So I've got all my notes from my class so I can use my references and shit. And we are fucking gonna talk about the things that we think will make us happy, but don't, are scientifically proven that they don't. I'm so excited about it. Can you tell? Also, can you tell that like my life isn't falling apart anymore? You know, I said the one thing that I can always trust is that I will feel better again one day, that I'll have motivation again one day, I'll have energy again one day. It took, you know, I started to feel better. I recorded that episode for you guys Wednesday, and it probably was like Saturday that I started to feel better. And then slowly but surely climbed out of it. And I would say like yesterday, I was pretty good. So let's do it, guys. I'm so fucking excited. Okay, so another weird coincidence that happened is that I was trying to get out of that funk, and I realized that I need to not have so much self-induced pressure. I need to take a step back, allow myself to enjoy and live and experience my life instead of being so hard on myself for making sure I'm controlling it and morphing it and molding it into doing the right thing to get to the place that I want to be in life. You know, like that's too much pressure, and I cannot live my life like that. I'm just not going to be able to survive, honestly. Like I will never get to where I want anyways being that way, because I'm just not enjoying my life, and I can't even think straight. I have zero clarity because I'm just so overthinky and so overwhelmed. So I realized that I need to chill on the self-induced pressure and work on savoring life. I literally thought it to the point that I put it in an Instagram caption a couple days ago. So that was kind of going on. And then I also was having a problem with like when I would wake up in the morning, every time I wake up, and I've probably talked to you guys about this in the past, that I almost feel like guilty, that I almost feel like upset that I didn't wake up earlier. Like if I don't get out of bed and jump out of bed and like go do something quote unquote good for me, like going to the gym or making myself breakfast or cleaning my house or doing yoga or going for a walk or something, I got to do something for myself. If I don't do that, I feel like I'm a failure and I'm never going to make life good for myself. I don't fucking know. It's weird. I can't explain it. I am actually starting, this is a fun little caveat announcement, I'm actually going to start writing blog posts because I miss writing articles. And so I recreated Wellish's website, if you haven't noticed already, and I have a blog section on there. So I'm going to start posting blog articles. So there's that. But I actually started writing one about this concept of sleep. So you can check it out there for me to get like more in depth with what the fuck was going on, why it was happening, and what I'm trying to do to solve it. But I'm trying to build the habit before I open my eyes of saying something that I'm looking forward to in this day, the day that I wake up. And I got this idea from an interview that I had with the Buddhist monk, Koshin Paley Ellison. If you guys remember him, he was a little while ago now, but I love his episode, and you guys love his episode too. It's one of my top listened to. So I try to ask myself that question. So it's, you know, I've liked it so far. If I don't have anything to be excited for, I can think of something that would make me excited and make sure to do that. Like, for example, today I woke up and I didn't really have anything that I could think of that made me excited for today. And so I decided that I was going to go lay by the pool while I worked, since I work remote. I have that access, so might as well like make something of my time instead of just complaining that I'm sitting inside all day, when I actually have the ability to go sit somewhere else and enjoy somewhere else and be outside. Now, unfortunately, the pool was closed because, like, of course it was. Like, literally, why? Of all times in my life, I've never fucking seen it closed. But of course, when your girl wants to go sit at it, it's closed. Is that victim mentality? Maybe. But I swear to God, my life works like that. I really don't know why. I told myself as it was happening, I need to, like, not hyper focus on that. I need to be making sure that I'm noticing all the things that do work out for me. You know, trying to rewire that a little bit, but couldn't help but be a little victim-y, be a little irritated about that. So instead, I went and laid on my balcony for an hour and enjoyed the shit out of that. It was great, but it was something that like I didn't have any intention of doing until I laid here and was like, what am I excited for today? And I had plans, and I didn't get on my self-deprecating shit cycle of me saying I'm a piece of shit for still being in bed and laying here. It was like a way for me to think about something else, so then I could consciously choose not to have that automatic response to waking up of being mad at myself. So I say both of these things because they are the rewirement exercises for me in my class this week. And I thought it would be nice to share them with you, something for you guys to be a little bit more mindful of. I'm going to be more mindful of it this week. So I thought, maybe we could do it together. I am going to be doing a gratitude list before I go to bed every night, 5 things. I actually am thinking about recording them and maybe making a YouTube video out of it just so that, it's kind of my way of journaling it in a sense, and then I can share it with you guys. But it just reminded me of like the thinking of something before I open my eyes, because I feel like one of the things that always stops me from keeping a gratitude journal is like actually physically having to keep the journal. And I think even I'm going to try to make the journal. Like I said, I'm going to try to record it. But I think even if you just lay there and think of 5 things that you're grateful for before you go to bed, it'll do the same thing. Like you're just becoming aware of it. And then the other rewirement exercise is picking something every day that you can savor. So like it can be like I was savoring being able to go outside in the sun and lay on my balcony. But it could be something like taking a warm shower, eating a hot meal, cuddling in your cozy bed, going somewhere cool, enjoying nice weather, whatever. You pick something in your day that's already happening that you are savoring, that you're choosing to enjoy, and ask yourself why it makes you happy. So a pivot from that is that we're going to be talking about these things that we think will make us happy, but don't. When I think about this for myself, I think if I had a good job, I think if I, made a lot of money, that would make life a lot easier, huh? I think about having a mansion. I think about being able to buy whatever clothes I want. I think about being able to dye my hair when I want to. I think about not having to go to a restaurant and look at the bill and be worried and transfer around money in order to pay the bill. I want to be able, I saw a quote on Instagram the other day, and I wish I could verbatim remember what it said, but maybe I could try. It said something along the lines of, I don't want the money because I want the money. I want the money because I want to create memories and be able to not have the stress of worrying about the finances behind making those memories happen. I hope that makes sense. So I worded it because the quote was a lot better than how I just tried to do it. But essentially that's the message. And I thought it was so good. So that's another thing that I think would make me happy if I had that. So when you look into what kind of things the majority of people answer to that question, most people answer in very similar ways. Those 5 things are a good job, money, beauty, like if you have the perfect body, the perfect face, materialistic items, and true love. So we're going to be talking about those 5 things specifically since they are the most common and why they don't actually make us happy with science behind it. Okay. I'm really excited because it's cool. All right. It's validating. It's good to know. I feel better now that I do know it. And I can spend my energy focusing on the things that will make me happy when I'm worried about my happiness. And I can focus on things like career and job and, whatever else, my fitness and nutrition. If I want to do something different with my body, you know what I'm trying to say? I can focus on that, but not put it in the same basket as my happiness. It can be my choice to work on those things to enhance my resources in life or to enhance, my health, whatever, but not to put all my eggs in one basket and assume that it will be the secret ingredient to me being happy also. So let's start with people thinking that once they have the right job, a good job, they will have a happy life. They will be happy. Their life will have meaning. A guy with the last name of Gilbert and his team conducted a study in 1998 about how happy college students were before and after they were denied the job that they wanted. They did this whole little happiness model situation to determine how happy they were. I actually took the same test. It was kind of freaking interesting to figure that out. I can link that if you guys are interested in taking the test to see how happy you are yourself. So they took that test, and then they had 2 circumstances. reasons play out. A fair reason that they didn't get the job, like they don't have the qualifications for it, and an unfair reason they didn't get the job. You screwed something up in the interview, they racially profile you, I don't know, they do some discrimination is what I'm trying to say, and whatever. You think it's an unfair reason that you didn't get the job. In both cases, they predicted that the happiness levels would drop from their baseline happiness that they were at the time of the test 2 points. So like, let's say they were happiness on a scale of 1 to 10 at an 8, they would then be at a 6 once they found out whether it was fair or unfair that they didn't get the job. When they actually did the study and like talked to the college students and collected all of the numbers, they found that on average, that for the fair reason they didn't get the job, the number dropped 0.68, so less than 1 on their happiness scale. And when they didn't get the job for an unfair reason, it literally didn't move at all. It was a 0. It didn't move. Their happiness was the same. As soon as they came to the realization that like that was unfair, they obviously passed on somebody fucking elite as me, then they realized that then their happiness doesn't drop at all. Which is crazy because you think like, if I don't get the job that I want, I'm going to actually end it all. But the truth is we think that it's going to be so much worse than it really is. Our prediction is that we're going to be so much more upset. And the truth really is that we aren't actually that upset when it happens. We also have to think about what it means to get a quote unquote good job, because that's what people are wanting. You know, they want a good career. And yes, it is important, at least for me, that I'm doing something that I enjoy. But for a majority of Americans, again, myself included, what we categorize a good job as is the compensation that we make there. Because 100% I can sit here and say, oh yeah, like I want a job that I enjoy, but I know sure as shit that I'm not going to take a $10,000 salary cut to have a job that I enjoy, because I already want to end it all with the salary that I'm making. So like, there's no way that I'm doing that. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to the compensation that you make. And so you're going to classify a good job as a job that pays you what you think you deserve. And then that's the next funny thing here, is that when we are asked what money we think we need in order to survive, what we think we deserve, what we think we would be most comfortable with salary-wise, we will always give a higher number than we actually make. People that make $30,000 are going to say my life would be a shit ton better if I made $50,000. People that make $100,000 are going to say my life would be a shit ton better if I made $250,000. Literally, no matter what you do, you're always going to want more money, because you continue to push your money limits to the capacity that you have. And then you get past those limits and you're always going to want more. You're going to think you need more than you actually do. So that leads us into the next thing that we think will make us happy: money. The more money we have, the more happy we'll be. I mean, how long have we heard that as a term, that money doesn't buy happiness? And let me fucking tell you, your girl has called the bullshit on that for my entire life. Like, do not get it twisted and think that I am sitting here as a woman of self-improvement gods saying to me, saying to you, oh yeah, money doesn't buy happiness. Like, there's literally no way. You have to find happiness within and it's gonna all be good and dandy. No, fuck that. I want to be able to have enough money for all of the things that I talked about a little bit ago: fucking clothes, food, all the things, vacations. I want that, you know, like I'm not any different than anybody else. And I literally heard a quote the other day. I don't know if it's from a comedian, it's from somebody. I've never seen anybody frowning on a boat, you know, like people obviously, like I would be so much happier. And to me, it always, like, I genuinely justified this by being like, no, because the more money I have, the more resources you have. And so the more resources you have, obviously that would make you happier. But how many resources do you really need? And that is where it starts to be obvious that money actually doesn't create happiness. So, weird statistic that I thought was super interesting, and it's not 100% correlated, but I wanted to share it with you because I just thought it does definitely correlate, and it's interesting. People spend $70 billion on the lottery every year. And that, my friends, is a 2015 statistic. I can't even imagine what it probably is in 2024. It's probably so much higher. Should I look it up? Let's look it up. How much did people spend on the lottery in 2023? Americans spent over $113 billion on lottery tickets last year, according to the North American Association of State and Provincial Lotteries. Oh my fucking God. That's insane. We spent $113 billion to try to make money. We obviously think that money will create happiness. It also is super weird about this statistic is that this amount of money is more than books, music, movie tickets, sports tickets, and video games combined. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. I can't get over it. So back to the studies of this situation. So the American Freshman Survey is a survey that has been going on since 1967. They report on it every couple years. They survey several freshmen all over the United States. They ask them what they view as important in life. So 2 important things to talk about here. They asked them how important it was to be very well off financially, and they asked them how important it was to develop a meaningful philosophy on life. Now, I'm sure you're not going to be surprised when I tell you the numbers. In 1967, the number of freshmen that said it was important to be very well off financially was 42%. And in 2005, it was 71%. 2005. I wonder what that fucking one is now, baby. The answer to the question how important it was in life to develop a meaningful philosophy on life in 1967 was 86%. And in 2005, it was 52%. Craziness. I can't help it. And also in 1967, there wasn't all this garbage that's happening in the world today. Love social media, but also the exposure to all these other people being happy and getting everybody's highlight reel and only hearing about good things for people. And it's just out of control. All of the consumerism that's happening in the world today, like all of the shit we see in the media, all the ads we get, all the things, all the ways that our society is just pumping this fucking information of us not being good enough into our brains is crazy. It's crazy. So, study done by psychologist Ed Diener. He was studying the correlation between life satisfaction and income. They took survey from a shit ton of people worldwide. They used the World Value System, I think it's called. Yeah, World Value System and college students all over the world. And the mean number, the average number from all of those samples came back to 0.1 of a correlation. So what they really found, which I almost find more interesting and easier to believe, is that there were too many factors other than income that correlated to your overall happiness. They find that at 0.1 people, from the study that they did, is what number they could land on for this. But really, 0.1, I mean, that's nothing. So not really. Sure, it does. It's a contributing factor to it. We can all acknowledge that. But the idea is that specifically life satisfaction and income are not directly correlated. There's too many things that go into our overall happiness that having a high income isn't enough for us to directly be happy. And the people that are directly impacted, what they found too is that it was really people in these poorer nations that it really impacted their life satisfaction, because it made the difference for them in getting access to clean water and having access to basic health care, because they had just a little bit more money to be able to afford that. But essentially, once your basic needs are met, that's all you really need. It's not going to continue to make your life more satisfying the more money you have. It has to. That's when like all the other factors start to come into play. It's when it covers your basic needs, then it doesn't continue to make a major impact on your correlation in life. So for people most likely like you and I, it really doesn't have much of an impact on your life satisfaction as it would for somebody that like really needs the money to eat that day. There is a quote I wanted to read to you guys by David Myers. He's the author of a book called The American Paradox. And he says, compared with their grandparents, today's young adults have grown up with much more affluence, slightly less happiness, and much greater risk of depression and assorted social pathology. It's a paradox because he says our becoming much better off over the last 4 decades has not been accompanied by one iota of increased subjective well-being. Literally not one thing that money can buy increased one iota of increased subjective well-being. Like your well-being is not correlated with your income. We can see with our own eyeballs that our becoming much better off over the last 4 decades doesn't contribute to how happy we are. If anything, we're worse. I do want to validate on this one too, because like I was also irritated because this one just like really gets under my skin, because I just really feel I've so much spent lots of my life saying that money not buying happiness is bullshit. Like that I get the underlying meaning. Like I get that there's sad people out there that are rich and that being rich doesn't cause you to be happy. You do. I know I made fun of it earlier, but like you really do have to find internal happiness in order to be that way. And I know that and I accept that and I understand that, but I cannot help just like most of us think like, but if I had money, things would be a lot easier. And I can't imagine people that are in even worse financial situations. But again, I mean, that's why it contributes to like, it really impacts poor nations that don't have access to resources. Once your basic needs are met, then you're good. But these two people, Danny Kahneman and Angus Dayton, are the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They are the people that I was talking about. The one of them wrote my book. The other one is dead now. So the only one of them, the Daniel Kahneman, is the author of this book. They wanted to know if there was a threshold that people could have a certain amount of money and then that would make them like happier and happier. And then it plateaus off. And they did find that it is $75,000 is where it begins to actually plateau. So I do want to validate you that most of us are not making $75,000 fucking dollars. And also, I don't know when this study was conducted. I know they did say it was recent, but like how recent? So I'm curious like what it is now, because if I see one more fucking thing on the internet about how much like a house costs today compared to how much a house cost in like the 40s, I will literally whip my phone into a lava pit and watch it burn, because I swear to God, I cannot handle it anymore. It's so frustrating. And just a mini side rant, as somebody that graduated college in 2020, like this is all people my age and younger know. So like we're all just like cool swimming in it because we think that this is how the real world is supposed to work, when all of our parents did have like $35,000, $40,000 a year jobs and were able to like provide for their family. Like sure, maybe they weren't fucking buying all the things and doing all the things, but like you could provide. And now it's like $40,000 a year and I'm like, I can't even pay for my goddamn self. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how are we supposed to live like that? It's fucking crazy. But I digress. I want to bring this up though about the $75,000 because it's like they did do this research that says that $75,000 mark is when things begin to plateau for happiness, that you're not increasingly happy the more money you get at about that mark. So if you feel bad about money and you're making less than $75,000, I got you, boo-boo. So another cool thing in that same study is they also asked them to like take a step back, look at their life from a bird's eye view, and decide where on the like ladder of life satisfaction they would place themselves. Like, did they think that they had a good life? And when they zoom out and they look at themselves, the higher income people made, the more they reported that they thought that their life was better. So essentially, the higher income doesn't actually make our lives better, but we perceive it that way because all we've been told our whole life is that your life will be better once you have more money. And essentially, you're not crazy because you are comfortable to pay your rent or your mortgage and buy groceries and go places and enjoy life and go to dinners and, whatever else and not be worried about money. So essentially, we perceive our lives as better, but in the grand scheme of things, because it doesn't directly correlate, income doesn't directly correlate to our happiness, that there's too many other things that correlate to it. It doesn't actually make us happy. Does that make sense? Are you following me? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, the next thing is having awesome stuff, being materialistic. You are talking to the Taurus materialistic queen. I don't know why. I've like literally always been that way. It's not now that I'm older, I like things. I literally have liked things my entire life. My mom and dad can justify it. I've always liked clothes. I've always liked shoes. I've always liked having stuff. Like I remember, I talked about wanting a mansion at the beginning of this. I remember going to a party at a guy that my dad worked with's house, and they lived in this mansion. And I remember telling my mom, oh my God, I have to live in a house like this when I grow up. And she, the wonderful woman that she is, said, honey, that's not what life's all about. It's simple things that make you happy. And she was right. But fuck, do I want that? And why? I don't know. Because obviously that's not how I was raised. But, here we are. So this one kind of like hits me in the fucking gut, but again, validating. And it made me feel better that it really actually doesn't contribute to your happiness. And it makes it, when I word it like that, it just makes it sound so much nicer than saying like, it's not going to make you happy, but it's like, it actually like scientifically doesn't contribute to it. So like you can keep doing it. And like, there's nothing wrong with wanting materialistic things, but if you're expecting that to in turn make you happy and mean that you have a good life, sorry, babe, like you're going to be disappointed. The other funny thing with this one too is that they figured out that the more that we think about things that we think would make us happy, the more upset we actually get, like the farther away from happiness we become. So they did a study. His name was Nickerson. This was in 2003. They talked to 12,000 freshmen in 1976 and asked about materialistic attitudes, like asking them what kind of, like how much they attributed their happiness to the material things that they had. And then they revisited them 20 years later and asked them how happy they were. The materialists reportedly had lower life satisfaction than the non-materialists. Shocker. But they also said that the materialists had more mental health disorders when they came back and talked to them 20 years later too. So just like a weird study that they did, that it literally proved that materialists weren't happy. And once they, the longer that they lived, the more time they had to acquire more things, the more money they had, because the longer they had been in the workforce, and they still were not happy, and they still were less happy than the people that weren't concerned with materialistic items. The next one might make some people happy. I liked it. It's about true love. How many times have we heard that, oh, once I meet the guy, or you fantasize about the fact that like once you get into a relationship, then you'll be happy, then you'll feel safe, then you'll be comfortable, then you'll have somebody to do things with. Life will be good once you find your true love. We're all on this manhunt to find our fucking soulmate. I feel like that is just like, we all know that's so common. We're all in the same boat on that one. This study in 2003 followed a group of 25,000 people for 15 years, and they just allowed life to play out. So for the 15 years that they allowed life to play out for these 25,000 people, 1,716 of them got married. So they regularly were checking in with these people and checking in on their happiness levels. And essentially what they found is that married people are happier. Sorry, we're all doomed. Married people are happier. Just kidding. They're happier in the first 1 to 2 years. So it is true that married people do get a little bit happier, but have we all heard of the little thing called the honeymoon phase? Like, even though you don't have to be in a honeymoon phase and you can still love your husband or wife like forever, that you guys can have a good relationship beyond that 1 to 2 years. That's not what I'm talking about, but that they are reportedly on average for the first 1 to 2 years of their marriage, a little bit happier than the unmarried person. But then after those 1 to 2 years, there is literally no difference in happiness levels between married and unmarried people. So once again, another conclusion of true love is not enough to create a happy life. There are too many other factors that contribute to the things that make a happy life. Another very common one is beauty. We feel that our life would be better, we would be happier the better that we looked. I feel like I've said this for every single one of these, but I know I would feel that way. I would love to stop having meltdowns every time I try to put a pair of not soft pants on my body. That would make me really happy to get through an entire dinner without having to unzip and unbutton my pants and pull my shirt down over the gaping, wide open pants for my belly to fall out so I can shove as much oysters and crab legs into my esophagus as I can. Thank you. Yeah, that would make me feel good. I would love that, especially being in Florida, looking around at all these little skinny queens. I literally, and you might be thinking like you're insane. Yeah, go look at them. Go look at them with their fucking abs walking on the street. It's so rude. Anyways, clearly issues over here with body image. So that's the point. Thinking that my life would be better if I had a better body. Relatable. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody, I feel like, if they have a brain in our society, has thought this. So in this study, it was in 2014, they followed 1,979 obese individuals for 4 years after they completed a diet program. And they put them all into 3 groups: the people that had weight loss, the people that had weight gain, and the people that their weight stayed the same. The result was that all of them were more depressed at the end of the 4 years. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. The ones that were actually the most depressed were the weight loss. It went, weight loss was the most depressed, weight staying the same was the next most depressed, and the least depressed, but still depressed, was the ones that gained weight. So literally, no matter what they did, they were fucked. They were all more depressed after the weight program. And I was reading a book. This isn't correlated, but kind of, because I was reading a book by, it's called Burnout. I can't remember her name. Emily Nagoski, I think, is the author. It's escaping me, sadly. It's literally sitting right here. But they talked about how it's actually more dangerous, the mindsets that go into your weight and being fat, and people like hating on you for being fat and you hating on yourself for being fat. Like, the mentality that comes with that is actually more dangerous than being fat itself, like being the unhealthiness of obesity. It's, one more time, more dangerous, the mentality that we put into our body image and being upset at people for being fat, like people being like mean to those people, and people feeling horrible about themselves for being overweight, is more dangerous than actually being overweight itself. Crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, this shows the same thing, that the people were actually more depressed after they partook in the diet program. They also did one on plastic surgery, which I thought was pretty cool, that they did the same kind of study that they did for the married people, that they followed a group of how many? 1,597 adolescents, and then surveyed them after 13 years. And again, just by chance, just by letting life play out, found that only 5% of them got cosmetic surgery. And so they wondered, because the number was so low, how happy the people were baseline when they got the surgery? Like, were they already unhappy and that's what caused them to try to cosmetically, surgically change themselves compared to everybody else? And they did find that the people that had plastic surgery done before and after the plastic surgery were depressed and depressor. So unfortunately, they did that and it literally didn't solve their problem. So like the rest of these, like the job, the income, the true love, the materialistic items, like all of those, we could say like do scientifically, mathematically, statistically make us like a little bit better. Not enough, not a lot, but it does make us a little bit happier. Where like the beauty thing, the answer is just like straight no. Across the board, doesn't make us happier. It makes us more depressed regardless. Like you have to work on your own body image and accepting yourself and loving yourself. So I think that is kind of crazy. I have a body image episode. I interviewed somebody during the 28 Days of Self-Love, so check that out if you want more information on that. But I thought that was so cool that it was just like a straight no. Those are the most common things that we think make us happy, but don't. But why? Like, why don't these things make us feel good? And there's a couple answers to that are also pretty common. Happiness is genetically set is one of them. That it's like you're just happy or you're not. You're either a glass half empty person or you're a glass half full person. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's the way that it is. And the second one is that life just always happens. Like shit happens that you cannot control and you can't help it, and it just like screws things up. Like no matter what you do, something shitty is going to come along and fuck up your day or fuck up your life, and you can't do anything about it. So essentially the good stuff balances out with the bad stuff, so we can't really become happy. And just saying those two things, like those two things have never crossed my mind before, and that's really depressing to think about that a lot of people do think that way and have come up with that as an answer as to like why they can't be happy. Because I feel like my brain is always like, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to be happy one day. But like to me, these two mindsets like just show how often people give up on trying to be happy. And that's some depressing shit, bro. But the good news is that author Sonia, I cannot say her name to save my life, Lubomirsky, I don't know, I'm sorry. But she was able to figure out how much contributes to and in what percentages our overall happiness. And it turned out that genes and life circumstances don't matter as much as we actually think. However, to my surprise, I don't know if this is anybody else, but they do still matter. So genes make up 50% of it, which I think is kind of nuts. But I like to flip my mindset here and think that the genes are only 50% of it compared to like it's half the fucking chart. Then 40% of it is actions and thoughts. And then 10% is life happenings. But 40% is actions and thoughts. And like that means that 40% of our happiness is under our control. Now that number might sound low, so it could make you feel, a little bit more go with the flow, considering 60% of it we literally cannot control. But it almost gives me a sense of relief because it makes me feel like I am not single-handedly doomed to failure if I don't do the right things, which is often where my mind goes when I start to think about what I need to do in order to be happy and feeling like it's my fault that I'm not. So it is validating to know that 60% of it is out of my control, but it's also empowering to know that 40% of it is in my control. And if I focus on improving my thoughts and behaviors and don't lean into all of the negativity that is in my control to control, then I would be a much happier person. I would have to put the effort in, and you have to put the effort in because 50% of it is your genes, like it's just my genes that I over fucking think. I'm paranoid. I overthink everything. I think things through 300 times before I do them. I don't know why I do that. Maybe it was conditioning. Maybe if things didn't play out in my life exactly the way they did, then maybe I wouldn't be an anxious wreck sometimes. Who the fuck knows? knows? But what I know is that whatever happened made my genes scramble up to a point that I become overthink McGee and can't get out of it. And that's just the way that it works for me. So I will have to make the conscious effort to put intention toward improving my thoughts and my actions to create a happy life for myself. And all of this other stuff, it's important, I want to do these things, but if I think about the fact that if I focus on my thoughts and my actions and making sure that I feel okay and I feel proud of who I am and I feel good about who I am and feel good about the life that I'm living, that's what matters. And that's when this other stuff comes into play. You know what I mean? Like, because maybe my best self is somebody that has a fancy fucking job title, or maybe my best self is somebody that is married and has 1,900 children and makes bread from scratch at home. Maybe my best self is somebody that has all the fancy cars and has the nicest house and is going to work my fucking ass off to get to that point. Great. Hi, I turned a light on, and when I did that, I realized that I never hit record. So my YouTube people, yeah, hi. I'm just going to pause this here and I'm going to put the sound underneath it. But I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm not expecting the house and the cars and the fancy bread and the babies to contribute to my overall happiness. I'm not relying on those things for my happiness to make me happy. I understand that it's my thoughts and my actions that are going to contribute to my happiness. Nothing the fuck else. Nothing else contributes to your happiness except your thoughts and actions. One more time for the people in the back. Nothing else contributes to your happiness other than your actions and your thoughts. So I do just want to say one more thing that I think is really important to take into consideration is just dumb fucking ways that our brain works. It's that stupid biological caveman-esque brain getting in the way of things. It just thinks this way. It just works this way. I'm not the science smart enough person to explain to you why it does, but it does. It simply does. And it's the fact that our first intuitive thought is not always the right thought. It's not always true. Our mind's strongest intuitions are most of the time, most often, they are wrong. For example, if you became paralyzed, your life would be over. That's not true. We assume that's our intuitive first thought. That's our intuitive first feeling. We think, okay, if I walk out of my house right now and I walk across the street, I get hit by a car, I get paralyzed, that's it. My life's over. Everything is destroyed. I'm going to hate my life and I'm going to roll over and die. What about all of the people that I've been seeing lately that their brother or somebody is pushing them in a wheelchair to get to the finish line at a marathon? What about the people that, do all of these things? You could become a great painter if you're paralyzed from the waist down. I don't know, like that. People do great things. Your life isn't over just because you become paralyzed. It's just something that you're going to have to sort through. Another one is, and one that I learned from this Thinking Fast and Slow book, is if we see a confident, attractive looking person, we automatically give them the benefit of the doubt. We know just from saying that one sentence that that's not always true. They don't all deserve to be right and be wonderful and have the recognition that they deserve. Just because you're confident and good looking is not a testament to your character. Let's open your mouth first and see what you fucking bring to the table, and then we'll talk. So in other words, your strongest intuition, your first intuition, is most often not accurate. And I love that because it's just like, I'm so always trying to listen to my intuition, and it's validating to know that this is simultaneously true. And so we can ask ourselves, you feel that intuitive thought and we're able to say like, let's get more information, or let's think that through further, or what things support my thought in this. And if at that point you think that, you're probably needing to listen to your intuition, do it, because there's probably enough reason for you to think that. But also if you get more information and then you go, whoa, this guy's hot and confident, but he's got no fucking idea what he's talking about. That's crazy talk. The one thing I want to mention too before I end this is the way that we live in a culture that pushes all of this at us. We are constantly seeing ads and commercials, and our economy, like let's think about like materialistic, for example. Our economy relies on us being materialistic. They shove down our throats that we're not good enough, we're not doing enough, and with their product, we will be good enough and we will be better. And we sit on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and watch Netflix and Peacock and Hulu and see constant commercials and ads for all of the things that would make our lives better. I said the material things because sure, like the newest iPhone and the newest clothing line, but really it's anything. I mean, we've got commercials for dating apps and wanting to find true love. That's in the media constantly about romantic relationships and how those are the people that end up being happy, is the people that find true love. We see the people that are spending tons of money and having all of these things in wonderful, huge closets with all of the things that you would just die to have shoved in our face on social media constantly. We see people that are like travel vloggers and they're just like living their best life, being able to travel all over the world. And I'm just so grateful for every single one of you for allowing this to happen for me. You know, like we see people with the career that we want. We see people with the income we want. We are constantly living in this culture that we could achieve more. And so we just want to do that. We can't help it. Hi, I'm back again. I turned it back on. Don't worry. Essentially, you're not nuts. This shit is shoved down our throat and we think that this is the way to survive. And the good news is it's not. That we can want these things, we can work towards these things, but we have to separate them from our idea that this is what's going to bring us happiness, because it's our thoughts and our actions that are what we can control of what bring us happiness. And it's not all of these things. So stop wasting your energy on all of that. You know, you can definitely put energy towards it, but not make yourself feel like shit for it not happening all at one time, because then you're not going to be happy, because it's your thoughts that and actions that contribute to your happiness. And if your thoughts are that you're a piece of garbage because you don't have enough money or you don't have the career that you want, or you think that you're ugly and that's why you can't get a boyfriend, then sorry, sister, you're going to continue to be unhappy. That achievement is not going to do it for you. Thank you so much for listening. This was a little bit longer of an episode. I really thought it was going to be 20 minutes long, and somehow I am at an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sure it's not that long for you guys, but you know, it was that long for me. So thank you so much for tuning in. I am excited to continue to learn about the science of well-being, and I'm very sure that I'm going to have more topics to talk to you guys about, but here's to not being stuck in mental ruts for too long. Here's to finding what makes us happy in life. And thank God it's not all of the stuff that just seems impossible to achieve. And here's to the fucking elite, because that's what we are. We're goddamn elite, and we're gonna kill this thing called life. Ew, cringe. Okay, so I'm done now. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok for daily self-improvement tips. On Instagram, I'm Sarah.Rittendale. TikTok is no dots, just Sarah Rittendale. And then you can follow Wellish on Instagram as well at Wellish Podcast. I just uploaded a new submission link for questions and stories. Would love to hear from you guys. I'm thinking about doing one of those soon. So, you know, please throw some questions and stories into my question box. And also, like I was telling you guys earlier, check out my new blog posts, because those are coming soon as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you very much, and I will talk to you all next Monday. Bye.